Riverside Healthcare puts the health and wellness information you need well within reach.
Welcome back to Well Within Reach podcast, brought to you by Riverside Healthcare. I'm your host, Gabby Cinnamon, and today Nicole Kilpatrick, a certified personal trainer and medical fitness coordinator at the Riverside Health Fitness Center, is joining us to talk about Rocksteady Boxing. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, Nicole. So you have an interesting background with medical fitness and gerontology. Can you kind of talk about that in your background?
Yeah, so I studied at Ball State University. I majored in exercise science, and then I minored in gerontology, which is the study of aging. I chose the exercise science route because I really enjoy being active myself, and I found it a way to help others be active and reach their health and fitness goals. I am a certified personal trainer through ACSM. I'm also a Parkinson's Wellness Recovery certified instructor, and then a Rocksteady Boxing head coach. So I joined Riverside Health Fitness Center in the summer of 2019, and I've just really grown with the facility as well as with the Parkinson's programming there.
Could you describe Parkinson's and kind of talk about what Parkinson's is?
So I'm so excited that I'm on the podcast in April because April is actually Parkinson's Awareness Month. So Parkinson's disease is a movement disorder where there is a lack of dopamine in the brain, which inhibits movements. Typical Parkinson's disease symptoms are going to be tremors, bradykinesia, which is slowness of movement, postural instability, rigidity, shuffling, and freezing of the gait.
So today we're talking about Rocksteady Boxing and how that can help with Parkinson's. What is the Rocksteady Boxing program at the fitness center?
Rocksteady Boxing is a high-intensity, non-contact boxing class designed for those with Parkinson's disease, and it's a way to combat all of the symptoms that I mentioned above, but in a very fun and supportive environment. I always joke around with my boxers that I chose this path because when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher, like I think everyone in middle school. And then I learned that you have to make lesson plans, and then kids give you attitude. And then here I am today, and I'm making lesson plans and getting attitude from my boxers.
I love it. I love it. So is there an ideal candidate or participant for Rocksteady Boxing?
Nope, we don't have an ideal candidate. Everyone's going to have their own battle with Parkinson's disease. Even some movement disorders can find benefits in the classes as well. Every potential participant must complete an evaluation just to ensure their safety in the program. So a typical evaluation, we're going to go over their health history. So what are their Parkinson's symptoms? Do they have any limitations? And then we're also going to look at a balance assessment and a gait assessment just so that we can judge their ability level and make sure the class is safe. We do not turn away people based off of their ability level. But based off of their evaluation, we may suggest different level of classes so that we can ensure that they will be challenged in that class, but also safe.
Do you have to be diagnosed with Parkinson's to attend in a Rocksteady Boxing class?
While the program is designed for those with a Parkinson's disease diagnosis, it can benefit specific movement disorders. That's why it's important to do the evaluation so that we can kind of see each participant's expectations for an exercise program and where they would need to be.
That's awesome. So before we get into how Rocksteady Boxing can help those with Parkinson's disease, I want to take a quick break to talk about the Riverside Health Fitness Center. The Riverside Health Fitness Center is located at 100 Fitness Drive in Bourbonnais and is the area's only medically based fitness facility. Stop by for a tour or call 815-929-1200 for more information. Now back to our conversation about Rocksteady Boxing with Nicole. So you mentioned that, Rocksteady Boxing, someone will be assessed for the class and then they can take the class and kind of to manage their expectations and see how the class might help them. How does Rocksteady Boxing help with a movement disorder, Parkinson's disease?
So if we look at all of the symptoms I mentioned earlier, the rigidity, slowness of movement, posture instability, our goal in the class is to combat all of those symptoms. So there's a Cleveland Clinic tandem bike study, and it shows that forced intensive exercise can help protect the brain and manage symptoms. And what they did in that study is they had two groups diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The first group was able to set their own exercise pace, while the second group had a pace set for them, so they're a little bit forced into an intenser exercise. And the results showed that forced intensive exercise was a more effective therapy for Parkinson's disease symptoms. So then we want to look into, what's an intense sport or intense mode of exercise? So ESPN did a study going over 60 sports to find the toughest sport, and based off of things like endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, and reaction, they're able to kind of determine what the most intense sport was, and that's boxing. And so we chose boxing for the route of exercise with Rocksteady Boxing. Plus, I find it so much fun to kind of hit on the bags and build so much confidence with boxing. So it's just a very fun class, and it's good. That's what we go for.
So if someone has signed up for the class, what can they expect? Like, what does a typical class look like? You said it's high intensity, but is there anything else that someone should know, like what the class will be?
Yeah, so the class, I'm going to kind of put this in here again. It's non-contact, so we're not going to be putting people together and ding,
Fight
ding, ding,
night.
fight. No fight night. We're just working on the heavy bags and speed bags and other types of bags too. But every class is going to be different, and that's where the fun of it is. So they follow the same general layout. We always start off the class with a get-to-know-you question, like, what's your favorite ice cream? And then that way, too, boxers can kind of find out, especially if they're new, get to know new members. We'll go through a proper warm-up that's going to be determined by what our big portion of the workout is, followed by that boxing circuits where we work on different skills. We'll have core, which is great for that posture, and then we'll always end with stretching, and we'll always bring it in for a cheesy cheer at the end.
I would imagine that, these classes kind of help those with a Parkinson's diagnosis, form a sense of community too, because you're, around people who are going through the same thing and you're getting to know them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what is the goal of Rocksteady boxing programming? Is there anything like, what kind of expectations, I guess, do you set for those who are taking the programming, or are there any results that they can expect to see?
So the obvious goal is that we want to maintain or hopefully improve our movement and reduce our Parkinson's disease symptoms. One of my personal goals that I like to see is I want to build up their confidence with movement, because I think a lot of them, they get that fear of falling or fear of, if I try to do this or this, it's not going to be right. So we just want to build up that confidence with movement. I also see with a lot of them that there's a mental benefit as well. So not just so much physical, but there's that great camaraderie amongst them, and they just offer support. And what I really enjoy about them, too, is they focus on what they can do, not so much on what symptoms they have or this and that. It's what they can do.
That's great. It sounds like it's a positive environment, which is really good. And I'm sure, like you said, building the confidence is a great first step in, keeping what you do have as far as movement and mobility goes. Are there any success stories you can share, or like some of the positive feedback? Because you guys have been doing this for a little bit now, so.
I've been with the program, I think, over 2 years now.
Wow. Oh,
so
my gosh.
I've been with them for a while, and I feel like I can, say a success story about every participant that comes through. Some of the big ones that just kind of happened recently, we had one gentleman who he went through physical therapy, had a baseline, and then joined Rocksteady Boxing. And I think the past week or 2 weeks, he went back to his physical therapist and rejudged their baselines. And he was so excited to come back to me and tell me that he had improvements with everything. We have another lady, when she came in and we were discussing jump rope, she was like, I'll never be able to jump rope. I can't jump rope. And just last week, she did 5 jump ropes in a row.
Oh my gosh.
I have another young 88-year-old. I have to watch her because we built up her confidence too much, I think, and she'll go and pick fights with people. But she likes to show off and do the jumping jacks in front of people. Another thing, it is. The other thing, too, that we really work on is that new members, they get worried about going down on the ground and doing exercises on the ground. But if you think about day-to-day life, we are standing, we're seated, and there's potential that we're going to be on the ground. So we practice getting on the ground, exercises there, and then getting back up. So seeing people, the first week of classes where they tell me, I can't get on the ground, I can't do that, and they see everyone else do it. So then they're like, well, I guess I'll try. And then they do it, and they're like, I didn't think I could do it. So that's one of the fun things to see, too.
I'm sure, too, that, like the on the ground stuff, that's also like safety, I would imagine it would make them feel safer, knowing like, oh, I can get up and I can, if something were to happen where I get on the ground, I'm on the ground, I can get up.
Yeah, not to make people listening nervous, but one of the things that we practice, too, is falling safely. So the more, and we're not from the feet or anything, we'll practice on the ground, but just kind of how to make sure that we're protecting our head or neck, how to kind of try to land on the meatier parts of our body, just because that's going to be safer. Because I tell people falling is going to be inevitable, and that's a bummer, but it's good to kind of get that practice in so that we don't have a potential injury where it's just, I always yell at them, tuck, duck, and roll.
Yeah, minimize, injury as much as you can. That's awesome. What other programs does the fitness center offer?
So for Parkinson's disease and other specific movement disorders, we also have POWER, or Parkinson's Wellness Recovery. And then they focus on really big movements, and then again, practicing exercises where we're going to find ourselves in day-to-day, so standing, seated, on the ground. We also have different activity days as well. So just to keep our schedule interesting and so that I don't get bored, we have dancing, circuit class, cardio days. They complain about the cardio days, but they keep showing up. And then also game days, which is my favorite because I get to really see their competitive sides get out. I also encourage my class participants to kind of try out different group exercise classes that the fitness center has to offer, like the yoga, aquatics, and cycling, where it's not so geared towards them, more so the general population. But you never know what class or instructor is going to motivate you to move. And with Parkinson's disease and movement disorders, the big thing is moving.
Yeah, and most of those classes too, I mean, I know I've taken cycling classes before. You can customize it to your ability, even though your instructor may be, telling you to go this fast or like put this much resistance on. There's a lot of customization. It ultimately is your ride, so you can kind of pick what you want to do.
I always tell people to get there early, talk to the instructor and tell them, hey, this and this is going on. This is my first time. And the instructor will then kind of give you pinpoints or modifications for you as well.
For them to know that that's an option is great. I'm sure, they don't have to just go to Rocksteady or Power Moves. They can try out different classes. That's really good. So how does someone who's interested sign up to participate in Rocksteady Boxing, Power Moves, any of the classes that you've mentioned? Do they have to be a fitness center member?
So you don't have to be a member. All potential participants, though, again, are going to have to go through that evaluation just to make sure that we can go over their best options with what classes and the best way to sign up, because you don't have to have a membership, but a membership is an option too. So just to go over all of those things. We do have a interest form on the Riverside Health Fitness Center website, or you can call Riverside Health Fitness Center at 815-929-1200.
So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Nicole. This has been very informative and will help a lot of people.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gabby. I appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Well Within Reach, brought to you by Riverside Healthcare. Make sure to leave a review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to our podcast.